you.
We are just waiting a couple more minutes because we have a lot of people registered, but we want to have everybody on board, and also the Vice Director of Research that is going to open these sessions of Science Cafés.
Okay. So I just wait for your signal.
Okay.
Somebody will show my slides.
Would you like to do it yourself, or would you like me to do it?
How do I do it? What is this first time I use this system?
It's not very complicated. If you look at the pink arrow on your hand, on your right hand, there's a pink
bottom, right hand bottom.
Yeah. You have also something like an arrow symbol that says sharing content. The third icon is sharing content.
Yeah.
And then you choose sharing application screen and choose where you have your slides. Do you see it?
Yeah. I see it, but I don't see the PowerPoint.
Probably you have to switch to window because you have full screen, window, and some of the tabs. Window and PowerPoint. Got it?
Switch into window.
You see your slides? It's coming. Think so?
You see the slides?
No, yet. No, I see just the black screen. Would you like to try again? If not, I can do it for you.
EUBBCollab.com is sharing a window. And if I want to stop sharing.
Stop sharing and try it again, because it's not, for some reason, it's not transmitting properly. Try to do it again. If not, I will do it for you because I have them.
Maybe.
If you can do it.
Good morning.
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Juanpa. Yes.
Can you see me?
Not yet. We are trying to share Costa's slides. For some reason, there is. Oh well, we can see you now.
Okay. Thank goodness. It took me a while to make it work. Sorry.
No worries. Can you do it, Costa? Or would you like me to do it?
Can you see them now? Can you see them now?
Yeah. Here you are. You have to make it the full presentation mode. Got it. Perfect. Great. Probably you put full screen.
I have put full screen.
We only see your, not the presentation mode.
I see the full thing. I'll see the presentation mode, the slideshow.
Do you have two screens or just one?
Just one, and I don't have the buttons of the application so that I can see anybody else. I see only my screen. I don't have a thing on top, an overlay my slides so that I can see you or.
Would you like me to do it for
comments.
you?
Yeah,
would you
maybe
prefer?
that would be better, just to go on and not have people waiting.
Okay, good. Okay, now everybody can see them.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Here you are. Okay, so we are ready to start. Welcome, everybody. Just give the floor to Juan Jose Vaquero, which is the Vice President of Research Policies in our university, that we will welcome all of you and our very distinguished speaker today. Juanjo, the floor is yours.
Okay. Can you see me now and hear me? Okay. Good. Thank you very much. First thing I have to let you know, all of you, is that we are going to record this session. Okay. So this Open Science Cafes at UC3M is a series of online webinars that will combine the World Cafe discussions with the online workshop for training of our researchers and young researchers. These sessions are part of training that UC3M and from our Vicerrectorado of Política Científica, and especially from the unit of Open Science, we have organized. And this is aim for, of course, for the whole faculty and interested researchers, but more especially for our new Connex Plus fellows and also for PhD students. And this can form is part of their specific and transversal training in open science. As you may already know, these sessions will be focused on a specific issue, each of them, and every session will be like 1 hour, the first 30 minutes from with a presentation from an expert, an invited expert, and then 30 minutes for questions and answers. We will be doing these sessions in English every Thursday from now at 1 p.m. From today until June, and all the students and trainees could register for any of as many of these sessions you want to register. Most interesting is the quality of the speakers that we have invited from the European Commission and from other European universities, and also from the Spanish Commission from Open Science, and also from members in the Research Evaluation Agency in Spain. And we will open this series with a presentation from Dr. Kostas Glinos. He's the head of the unit of Open Science from the European Commission, to whom I want to give him thank you very much for being so kind to accept this invitation and join us. And next Thursday, we will have another presentation from Sabina Lionel, University of Exeter, in which we will go over the Plan S, what does it mean for researchers, just to let you know what is the future one. So just before giving the floor to our distinguished speaker, let me thank you, our Deputy Vice Rector for Open Science, Eva Mendez, who from the other side of the planet has been working very hardly and has done an excellent and exhaustive work to put this activity together. I mean, it hasn't been an easy task, and being as far away as she is with a completely different schedule, this has implied that she has been working day and night to synchronize with us here. So thank you very much, Eva, for your effort and for your work. So just let me introduce you to Dr. Glinos. He's going to talk about open science in the new era European research area and the Horizon Europe. Dr. Glinos works, as I said, in the European Commission, is the leading of the unit in charge of open science in the Directorate General of Research and Innovation. Previous to that position, he has held many management positions about science, technology, and innovation policy and research and development funding programs, including international relationship, research infrastructures, and many other activities. He also has been a fellow at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Glinos, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Vaquero. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Thank you, Eva. We have 45 minutes altogether. We have to finish at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I would like if you can have at least 15 minutes for the discussion, because the whole thing is about
absolutely. I would not have at all a problem of being interrupted also, and if you want to do this interactively, more in the form of a discussion, we could also do this. So I will start, and probably I won't show all the slides that I have, but so we can do it as much interactively as you would like. The next slide, please.
Put it here, sorry.
So let me start with a definition for open science. What is it? Open science is about reforming the research process or the research system so that knowledge, data, information, scientific information flows as unimpededly, as easily as possible across the research actors and the research system. So it is all about sharing. It's about sharing tools like software. It's about sharing knowledge, data, information in general. With whom? Sharing with other researchers, other scientists, sharing between disciplines, and I put that separately because it is a major challenge to share across disciplines or sub-disciplines. And it is sharing also between the science system on the one hand and society or citizens on the other hand. So some time ago, this was called digital science or science 2.0 or other names. And this is because open science basically is given rise by the information technologies, by the ability of information technologies to open up communication, open up the exchange of information much more broadly than was possible before. Why do we do it? Why do we have a policy on open science? Why do we think it's a good thing to have? It's not for ideological reasons, because it's good to be open or it's good to be transparent. Okay, it is of course good to be open and transparent, but in addition to this, we believe that open science is better science. So open science leads to higher quality science, and there is now a whole discussion about what quality is. How do you define scientific quality, or other people call it excellence, how you define scientific excellence. So, but we believe open science is better science. I will give some examples on this in a while. We think open science is more effective or more efficient science, so higher productivity of scientific discoveries, breakthroughs can be obtained by opening science up. We think also that open science leads to more creativity through collective intelligence and the enabling of cross-disciplinarity. And finally, or last but not least, it leads to a science system that is more trusted by society. And this is obtained by having the science system being open towards society, but also allowing citizens to participate in the science system. I'll come to this in a second. So this was a general description of open science, but concretely now let me come to what we do about it. What are the areas of activity in open science, at least in the Commission, and it's more or less valid for everybody worldwide who engages in open science. So what are the areas of activity? Firstly, we have the practices of open science. That improve the practice of research and innovation, and have a list there of 5 bullet points, but this is not an exhaustive list. Firstly, we have the area of open access to scholarly publications, so academic journal articles, but not only, can be also books or whatever else. There is a whole policy about this in most countries around the world, and from the European Commission as well. It is the more mature, but not necessarily the most advanced area of open science, because it started very early on, maybe 20 years ago. Then we have the practice of early sharing of all other research outputs, in addition, in other words, to scholarly publications. And this, in other words, can be data sets, can be software, can be workflows. Some people have started sharing lab books. It can be models for the climate, for instance, or for mathematical models, or anything else that is a product of the science enterprise, of the research process. Then we have the area of research data management. That's what RDM means, and which relies on the premise that all data will be eventually fair, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, which is what it says there. What this acronym means. Of course, data that have been produced and are made even open, but cannot be found, are not very useful. And then once they are found, one needs to have a means to access them, or the rules for accessing them, if they are not open, should be clear. And they should be reusable in the sense that they should have clear licenses attributed to them, so that it is again clear on how the data can be reused. And interoperable means that they should follow the standard formats, or in case that these standards have not been defined for a particular area, or there are too many standards, that it implies doing a lot of work in order to define these standards. We are generally going towards an era of responsible research data management, where data is not just an intermediate step in the research process just to produce a publication, a paper, for example, but they have value in their own right. And when I say data, I mean it in the broad sense also for other research outputs. So it's not data only that we want to be fair. It is also software that we want to be fair. It's models that we want to be fair, and so on and so forth. Another area that we have started dealing with in open science relatively recently, so about a year or 2 years ago, is the area of reproducibility. And I'll come to this, I'll give an example of that. It is ensuring, to the extent possible, that the results that produced out of research can be verified, validated, and eventually reproduced. And then the final area, I talked shortly about it earlier on, is the area of societal engagement and responsibility, that for building further trust in science and by society. This is something that has been proven again and again to be of utmost importance, that the old paradigm of the ivory tower, of science as an ivory tower, does not hold any water anymore with society. And if we want society to continue to support science, science needs to be part of society and not outside it. Now, practically speaking, this implies a number of things or possibilities. it may imply a common form of it is citizen science, so involving citizens or civil society organizations in the implementation, in the execution of research as such. But we have also increasingly other forms of citizen engagement in validating results, for instance, in designing research projects, in deciding, and we do this also at the European level in the Horizon Europe, in the new program, at deciding the objectives of parts of research programs. It also includes science communication. So for researchers or members of academia to communicate what they are doing and why this is important for society to the average person. Of course, all this does not necessarily mean that all of it needs to be taking place in every research area or by every researcher. But it means that that the science system, the science enterprise, should pay increased attention to this. It should become a reflex of what am I doing? Is it relevant to society or to citizens, and how could they be potentially engaged in that? So this is about the practices of open science, and this is not an exhaustive list, as I said. But then we have enablers that make the implementation of these practices possible. And I have put three things there. Probably the most important of those and the more difficult one to change is the rewards and incentives system. So it's how researchers, research projects or research efforts, and how research institutions, including universities, are assessed so that the practices of open science are incentivized and rewarded. Eva knows this very well because this is a topic that was addressed by the Open Science Policy Platform, of which she was a chair in 2019 up to 2020, because it finished its work, the policy platform, today. But this is a topic on which it devoted a lot of thinking and reports. Then we have the issues of skills and education, including for research integrity, which is another enabler. It is very wide-ranging and addresses the skills of every single researcher, but also the infrastructure of universities. For example, we have many universities or other research institutions. So increasingly, for example, universities employ today data stewards, so people who will help their researchers to do adequate, proper research data management or management of other types of research outputs like software, because not all researchers are necessarily up to date with the most modern techniques of data management. And then third enabler is the area of infrastructures, and in particular developing the infrastructure that will be able to support the move, the transition towards open science. And in Europe, we are developing what's called the European Open Science Cloud. This is entitled to an entirely different, entirely separate presentation. I won't have time today to elaborate on this. Now, we have the practices, the enablers, but we need to do more, of course, if we want to bring open science to maturity. First of all, we need to involve all the actors, because this is a cultural transition that's why I'm saying changing research culture. To a significant extent, this is a cultural change, and we think we can be successful only if we involve all the actors. So first of all, bottom up, with the researchers, with the research institutions and their organizations, with the universities, and at the same time engaging top-down with the member states of the European Union, together with the funders, and together with the institutions who need to set the right best practices, who need sometimes to legislate or to put down the conditions for access to financing, so that the way that research is performed complies with a number of the of open science principles. And then we also need to do this internationally. I mean, internationally, I mean not only within the European Union, but also beyond the European Union, because the science is an international endeavor, it's a global endeavor, and disciplines are spanning, and the organization across disciplines spans many countries around the world, and we cannot change the science system in one country. There are no borders of science systems. We have to have at the same time to engage in changing the science systems globally. So that's why we are very much engaged internationally. For instance, who have been, and Spain, of course, participated, but who have been very active in the last year in since February 2020 with UNESCO for this open science recommendation that was agreed last week as a draft proposal to the UNESCO plenary, which will take place in the autumn, in the coming autumn, and we're extremely glad with the outcome. We think it's very advanced text for open science globally. We're engaging with many other organizations, with CODATA, for instance, with the Research Data Alliance and so on, but also with the G7, which has an open science working group that we are co-chairing together with Japan, and many other organizations with also bilaterally or globally, with South America in particular, but also with Africa and many others. Next one, please. So let me make a parenthesis to bring an example to tell you what we mean by reproducibility, and to also bring an example of why open science, of one of the reasons why open science is better science. There has been discussion about the extent of reproducibility of scientific results in many areas. In one area, of course, in question where reproducibility is extremely important is obviously health. And some studies from 10 years back, they pretend to show that as much as 85%, is astonishing to think about it, but as much as 85% of the research investment may be wasted, because and the research investment in health is 300 billion euros per year worldwide, globally. The 85% could be wasted because its results are not reproducible, and various authors in literature have made an analysis of the reasons why this may not be reproducible, and you see some examples on the slide. For example, the exact methods that the authors followed are not available. The software that they used is not available for others to reuse. That there is cognitive bias in the results or in the methodology, that there is a biased reporting of results, or the so-called publication bias. In other words, the data underpinning their publications maybe are available, but there are other data that the researchers found that they don't support, or they're not useful for what they want to publish, were not published. Therefore, since there is no access to this data, other people are condemned to recollect them, and then maybe in some cases that this data have led to negative results or no results, then other researchers are condemned to reproduce, to redo the research, and therefore to waste their time essentially in coming to a dead end that was already known by others before. We have also cases of post-study design. We have many other aspects that have to do with the research methodology and its openness that are relevant to that would not be there if we had completed the transition to an open science environment. Next one, please. So now, just another parenthesis on an adjacent topic, because there has been a lot of discussion on COVID-19, the pandemic, and whether this is accelerating the transition to open science, and probably it is. Who have seen, for example, an acceleration in the use of preprints, because of course the researchers want to share important findings as soon as possible and not necessarily waiting for peer review. We have, you see this in the graph. You see that the acceleration is significant, but not tremendous either. We had an initiative quite early on in mid of March 2020, where in the beginning about 16 chief science advisors, including the Commission and including the United States and many countries, asked publishers through an open letter that was then joined by many others, by many other funders and chief science advisors of various countries to open up their research content, to which publishers did respond and made all, or basically, or most, I guess, articles that they have published about, or they are still publishing about COVID-19 open access. But this is temporary, and they have said they will close it at a certain point. I'm not sure whether some of it is, some of the publishers have already closed it. But on the other hand, if you look at how much data underpinning COVID-19 publication is available compared to before the crisis, actually there is no much change. So there are still many publications keeping the data closed, whereas we all know, everybody knows how urgent and important it is to share data without delay if we want to accelerate research towards treatments or new drugs or vaccines and so on. We have, in the Commission, have started a major effort also in April. This was launched from April last year with many partners from like the Elixir, for example, infrastructure on genomics, with colleagues at EMBL, the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, and and with many member states, including Spain, that has been very instrumental with this, that to launch a data sharing platform for COVID-19. And this has been a huge success. At the same time, it has made us realize how difficult it is to combine data from different disciplines, and this is exactly what you need in order, if you want to do research. So if you want to do to find what's the right treatment for COVID-19, you would like ideally to combine genomic data of the virus with eventually genomic data with the host, with clinical data for those that have actually been sick, with epidemiological data and so on. And this is easily said, but extremely difficult, very difficult to do for many different reasons that lead to poor interoperability of data across different areas. Okay, I have consumed 25 minutes, and maybe you would, maybe I should do a break here to see if we should have a discussion at this point, or if you want me, I could continue.
Is there any question, or you can just go ahead with the URL?
I saw some messages flying across my screen, but I didn't have the time to read them.
I'm just I'm just trying to annotate your presentation, providing links to the audience.
Okay. Okay,
So,
it was from you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just share the UNESCO recommendations and the reproducibility report of the Commission. That
Okay, great. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
we can move on, and perhaps people are interested also in the policies in Horizon Europe, but also everything that you can tell about the research evaluation is also very interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, I saw just a question on how you protect IP in open science, so I will say a word about this. So let me say about the ERA communication. The Commission published the communication in which is its main way of announcing policies in end of September last year. And there are a number of aspects there, a number of actions that relate to open science. There is one chapter about deepening the European research area, in which we have 4 actions related to open science. One is about launching ORE, which is an open access publishing platform. Another one is about copyright, which relates to the question on IP. Another one is about the European Open Science Cloud, and another one, and a very important one, is about the research assessment system that I'll show a slide in a second, and on which I referred to earlier. And then there are, in another chapter called citizen engagement, there are also a number of actions put forward, which have to do, for example, with citizen science campaigns, in particular in the context of missions, and we have the Plastic Pirates campaign in the context of the Clean Oceans mission that is going on. Next one. Okay, before I go to this one, maybe Eva, you advance a few slides to go to the assessment system, because Open Research Europe, I leave it for later. Next one. Okay, here I want to tell you a couple of words about research assessment, and here you see this is the second bullet, the Open Science Policy Platform that I referred to earlier and that Eva was sharing. So we have a number of policy documents on which we have based our actions for research assessment reform. Also, the Commission recommendation of 25 April 2018, and the communication I just said of the 30th of September. Next one. So, what is the issue? What is the issue with research assessment? The issue is that it rewards an old mode of doing science. The problem is that the current system that is dominant, although we see evolution, we see change, but this change we think is too slow and we want to accelerate it. So the current system defines largely excellence on the basis of where researchers publish, so which journal, and whether this journal has large impact factors. So a researcher's career can be made if she or he manages to publish, let's say, 2 articles in Nature or Science, or the Lancet or Cell. So there are some iconic journals, and if you publish in those, I bring an example, an extreme example, then your career is made, which is a bit astonishing, considering that then what counts is where you publish and not what you publish. And we know that publications historically in science that have changed the world have not appeared necessarily in such journals. So we cannot reward the scientific quality or performance based on where. It has to be on the intrinsic value of publication, on its quality, and on the quality of the research that underlied it, and on the impact. So we want to go towards a more composite definition of excellence. So the current system incentivizes researchers also to produce mainly publications, whereas, as I was explaining earlier also in the reproducibility discussion, there are many other outputs that are extremely important today. and from data sets to software and so on. And we want to go towards a system that incentivizes researchers to share knowledge, to share data early and openly, and to be rewarded for that. We would like also to go from a system that's now quite individualistic, geared towards rewarding individual competing scientists, towards a system that also rewards teamwork and collaboration. So we have, I can bring many examples, but we have examples, very sad examples from COVID-19, from the crisis, with very important data that, and I don't say that everybody behaves like this, but I personally know examples. People do not want to share their data, although they're extremely important. They're shared as much as possible before they publish, because they're saying that when I get my paper out or submit it, then I will share it. And this can be weeks, this can be months. And this is, on the one hand, from societal point of view, it's not an acceptable behavior. On the other hand, you cannot blame the people either, because if what they are rewarded for mainly or above everything else is a good publication, then from the research point of view, then you have to change the system, not the behavior of individual scientists. This is why we have started the process in the last few months. It started with a big meeting, consultation meeting, to find the best way that we can accelerate this. This took place in March, and we continue with lots of bilateral meetings. And the Commission will publish a green paper in October or November this year, where we'll set forward the method to change the system, probably culminating next in beginning of 2022 with a kind of an agreement between funders on the one hand and the research institutions and universities on the other, on an agreement on how to change the research assessment system, because we need the agreement of all actors on this. Policy, of course, but also funders that need to change the criteria by which they fund research, as well as the research institutions, because they need to change the criteria on the basis of which they promote or they assess the career of their staff. Next one. Okay, here I take a break for answering the question that about IP earlier on. So the IP, intellectual property management, and open science interact, or overlap rather, but they do not coincide. So what do we mean by IP? We mean, by IP protection. There are different forms, commercial secrets, copyright, patents, the trademarks, and so on. So the regarding copyright, this is at the core of open science, is at the heart of it. So we want that outputs of the research process that have been funded with public money are open for others to use with clear licenses, meaning with, for example, equivalent of Creative Commons CC BY license. On the other hand, patents are not strictly speaking part of open science, but they interact with it. So, for instance, if you are the openness of data, for example, or of other research outputs like software, we again, from projects that are funded by the public purse, not industry projects self-funded by industry. So these projects funded by the public purse, we're saying as open as possible, as close as necessary. This summarizes our policy. So the default is open, but it can be closed if there is a reason to be closed. For example, if you want to go for a patent, and you can of course close your data set. Your data set can be closed for till you apply for the patent, or till you have your invention, let's say, you are sure that it is safe. So open, but with exceptions. So in this sense, open science does not at all run contrary to intellectual property. On the contrary, it is a way of having very clear rules in the game. And again, patenting is fine. Commercial secrets, no, this would not be fine. This would not be fine again for we don't say this in any document, but this is my opinion. But if you have been funded with taxpayer money, then I think it's normal that you cannot close up completely, if you are a public research institution or university, your findings forever as a commercial secret. That would not be reasonable, because then society does not benefit in any way from the investment it did. Should I stop here with the slides and answer some of the questions?
Yeah, it's up to you. We will provide people.
I think so, because we
slides.
have only 10-15 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, the slides you can distribute if you want. The two things I didn't present is the Horizon Europe, and on the one hand, and the Open Research Europe publishing venue on the other. Where can I see the
chat?
The chat. Yes, I see it. I see it. Yeah, I guess
check in
here.
the bubble.
Eva, you could read the questions.
Yeah.
If,
can you see the questions yourself, Kostas?
No, I don't know why I cannot see it.
Well,
I can see if I click on participants. I do see the list of participants. If I click on the bubble,
yeah,
you have to click in all just to see the or todos. I don't know if you have it in Spanish or in English.
Ah, yes, indeed, right on the top. Yes, everybody's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody.
So I can see them. I can see them.
Okay. Good.
There are many interesting questions. It was a discussion in parallel about IP and open source and stuff. Very interesting, but I think you answered very well that. I think there are some interesting questions from the other doctoral students. I don't know if you want to pick some of them. It's up to you.
So, yes, I mean, tell me what time is the question that you refer to? Or you want me to start from the beginning?
Well, no, that's probably you can start with this one. That is there any percentage of impact for the open science and dominant system on the university level, on the all over the world classification standards? I am assuming it's standards. Perhaps I don't really understand very much. Probably it's about the impact of open science. And what is the impact of open science compared with the dominant system, the closed science and open science?
Yeah, I don't understand very well the question, but as you know, Eva, we are making reflecting and producing a new policy for research careers that will consider not open science, but many other issues related to research careers, and that will address, therefore, that will address the whole spectrum of career issues. But I'm not sure if this is the percentage of impact for the open. Let's take another question then, because I'm not sure unless Amar could explain it.
Probably, I think he just have problems with the connection and just he's not anymore in the
So
audience.
let me take the next question. Then, is it common that working papers are scooped in hot research topics? Will this happen more frequently if we switch to open science? Yes, and this is what we want. So not scooped, but referred to, and referred to and used. So what scooping? I don't know the what's the meaning exactly, but I presume is secretly, stealing some ideas and using them without paying proper tribute to the producer of the ideas. So the idea of open science is that, and of fair data and having everything fair, is that everything is citable. Everything you put up on the system, on the web is can be referred to. To give an example, in ORE, in the new publication platform, reviews will be open for everybody to see, and the names of reviewers will be open. There has been a lot of debate about this, whether it's a good thing to have or not a good thing to have. This means if everything is open, means that people take the responsibility of their review report sufficiently so that they put their name up there, and that these review reports are citable. So if you criticize a research paper, positively or negatively, then your argumentation can be cited and used by somebody else in another review report, but also in another paper or anywhere else. So we want to promote a culture of openness and transparency, where the culture is such that you cite everybody, you acknowledge all the contributions, and you are not motivated to close up your research for fear of somebody stealing your ideas.
I think Ahmed also mentioned what is the open science preserve the rights of the researcher, but I think you have. He said about the how does open science preserve the rights of the researcher, but I think is the best way to preserve them. When you have it in the open, it's clear if somebody copied you.
Yeah, exactly. Transparency, in other words. Well, there will always be people who try to to ride on the ideas of others and so on. But the best protection, I mean, otherwise we would need to close up everything. And maybe I like to say this example because it's very characteristic. The story about Galileo and in the 17th century, and about when he discovered which one was it. It was one of the moons of Jupiter, I think. He did not reveal it for a long time, but because he thought that if he reveals it, then his discovery that others will be able to use it and maybe come to prominence more than himself. But he didn't want not to say anything either, because then somebody else could do the same discovery and then claim it as his. Therefore, what he did, he made an anagram that was saying that I discovered this and such and such two moons I think he discovered. So, and he sent this anagram to the 7 most famous astronomers of his time, including Copernicus. And they spent these astronomers, years or months trying to decipher what the anagram is. Nobody managed without the key. But this was the behavior, because and this is what we went away from. And how did we go away from this? It was the Medici family that was the funder of Galileo. So at some point, they got tired with this behavior, not from Galileo only, but all scientists that did not want to speak to anybody about what they are doing, for fear that their ideas will be stolen. That they put as a condition that they publish. And they threaten them that there will be no more money unless they publish. And this is how the first publications in Italy came about. So this is so we are way better than this today. have improved tremendously, but this was the mindset at that time. And there is some of this mindset still lingering there, and we need to go beyond.
That's a very good example. Do you have any other question for Esther, from Esther? That she said that your lecture was very encouraging, but she wants to know if you think that open science can lead to a greater economic growth.
Definitely. I think it can lead to great economic growth for sure, because we know that within the economic system, that the more information flows, without any obstacles. If we remove all the obstacles, information and knowledge sharing, then it's for sure that this will lead to more discoveries, will lead to more innovations, and therefore to more economic growth. We did a study, a narrow study, 3 or 4 years ago in the Commission, that, sorry, this was 5 years ago, actually 2016, that gave us that only from the amount of data collection, that are data collected with public money and not published, Europe loses 10 billion euros a year. This was 5 years ago, where now, the data doubles every year, more or less. So this was 5 years ago that we're losing 10 billion a year, and this was not accounting the multiplier effect of closed data or open data within the entire economy. So yes, huge, and it was only for data, not software, not any other research outputs. So it is today, unfortunately, the majority of research output stays in the laptops of researchers, and it's not findable by others, not usable, exploited by others, it's just wasted. So it's an enormous economic growth that benefits that can result from a paradigm change in that direction.
Thank you very much.
So there is
yeah, go ahead.
There is a question about, is it possible to share our research papers which are done on some data sets from private societies? So I guess from private companies, it depends whether you have the rights of use of these data sets, and what if there is a copyright with them. And so in some case, yes, in some case, no. If it is private data sets, let's say collected from a pharmaceutical company, yes, of course, one cannot, they will license this data set for precise reasons. And it depends on the kind of license that will go with this data set, on whether you can publish it as underpinning a publication, or you can share it in any other way. Again, open science doesn't mean complete openness for everything. It means for us complete openness for publications, and for the rest of research outputs, it means as open as possible, open by default, as closed as necessary. So there are cases where it has to be closed.
I don't want to abuse of the time. We have started a bit late. I'm sorry for that. But perhaps you can have a last comment, because somebody was asking before about the reliability of science for the society, because people think that after the coronavirus crisis, they don't believe in science. I think it's the moment for science. And also somebody was commenting on the is there any web page when you can gather data from other researchers? And probably that's where you have to tune in on the EOSC perspective of the Commission.
Yeah. Yes, I think the question of reliability of science is extremely important, and has become even more important due to the pandemic. And again, I think open science is more reliable science, because it's open scrutiny. So if everything is in the open, then if all data were theoretically open, if the software used to treat to the data was open, then one would be able to check to everything that others are doing in their own area, and this would certainly result in more reliable science. Which one is the other question that you told me, Eva, I should respond to?
Also a bit, somebody was asking something related.
Yes, what about the data, about EOSC and the data? Yeah, so the data are shared in many different ways. So there are disciplinary repositories for data that, for example, I don't know, the elementary particle physicists around CERN, they have their data repository. So many disciplines have their own data repositories to share their data, and many institutions, actually most institutions or universities, have their own repository. So they're both institutional repositories and disciplinary repositories where data are shared. Also, data are shared sometimes or often on publishers' systems, because the researchers they send them together with their publication, with a paper, and they are sometimes available there. So what we're trying to do, however, is that all these data sets can be very easily discovered. I was saying that the data sets should be fair. Fair means refers to initials findable and accessible. So in other words, that by doing a Google, quote unquote, not really Google, but a search engine, by using a search engine, you can find all the data that exists in a certain domain, according to a description that you put into the system. And this is our ideal. This is that all data, wherever they are findable, wherever they are deposited, that they can be found. This implies that the data are annotated. They are metadata to the data according to a given standard, and implies that the repositories on which their data are deposited follow also some standards so that they can be discovered, and that they can give clear information what the proper licenses are and so on, the terms of use are. So this is what we're trying to do with EOSC, the European Open Science Cloud, among other things, is to make sure that all these data sets not only are deposited, and as I described earlier, but that we can find them and we can reuse them according to clear rules.
Okay, wonderful. I'm trying to provide some guidelines and some links for people that they are asking about that. I think this is just the first Open Science Cafe. So you open the questions, and I think we will continue the discussion in the next Thursdays. And I will just keep you informed what is going on, because it's very interesting, the experience, particularly with early career researchers that I'm also training before this session. Thank you so much, Kostas.
Thank you for the invitation, Eva. It very lively. I'm sorry that I could not follow better the questions on the chat, and it was my honor to open this up to have the first presentation.
Absolutely, I will keep you posted about this. Juanjo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glinos. Thank you very much, Eva. It has been a great session. We're very well attended. We have had a very high number of attendees. That's very good. That's a good opening for the Open Science Cafes. So congratulations for the success of this first session. And thank you to Dr. Glinos for his excellent participation and excellent questions and answers session. As we said, the next session will be next Thursday. And and that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed it, and keep doing this work. This is a great activity. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.